Hello everyone, welcome to chapter 75 on my RLDR Custom Creations YouTube channel. And in today's chapter, you're going to see an episode of the Transformers. So if you want to see what that's all about, all you got to do is stay tuned. Well, pretty catchy intro, eh? Well, I'm at the lathe again today. So, and anytime you're at the lathe, you're transforming little piece of square 2x4 or stock into something cool. We're going to talk about this a little bit later. So, yeah, the whole idea of the Transformers theme, my goal is to try to hopefully get some younger students watching these videos. I really believe that this generation of students is definitely our future. And I am not as willing to write them off as a lot of people are. I think back to when I was tyke, grade 7, 8, I was a little schnurz too. So it happens. That's the way it is. But unfortunately, our students today have lots of challenges that we never had. So I'm hoping that by showing some of the stuff that I did with students, maybe there's a few IA teachers out there that are kind of just dipping their toe in the water, so to speak, when it comes to wood turning and would like to get into it. And I'll do whatever I can to help you do that, but also to get students excited about taking wood turning. I think that shop programs are critical. And unfortunately, even in a neighboring in Saskatoon, what did they do? They took the shops out of grade 7 and 8 across the city. In my opinion, dumb move. I think we'll pay for that someday. That next generation of entrepreneurs and tradespeople, that's what we're shutting down when we do that. So I'm hoping that the shops that still run those programs, grade 7 and 8 is the key. It's the start. If you can find out what a student's aptitudes are, and if they show a real ability to work with wood or steel or whatever, I think that needs to be discovered early. So anyway, today I'm going to take and turn this 6-inch block of pine, which I hate turning pine, into this little nutcracker. You know, Christmas is not that far away. And this project, what I like about this project is, first of all, looking at it, hope you can see this. There's a taper here, a taper here, and a taper here. There's a bead there that has obstructions on both sides, which makes it a little hard to turn. And we've got an end to face. And I think in a previous video, I showed you how I do ends. I'm going to do that in a little more detail today. So we're going to make this out of this. And what I'm going to do is spin you around and put you overhead so you can see. And we're going to have some fun turning. I'll be back. Okay, well, we're in the overhead view now. And there's a close-up of the nutcracker that I turned. I like turning it in my lathe with this towards the headstock. The reason being is I like to finish the top of the hat, and it's easier if it's on the tailstock side of the lathe. So we've got, like I said, we've got a taper, confined bead, another taper, a little bead. Now the arms are just glued on, and that's 1/4-inch dowel. Now the 1/4-inch dowel that I use is, I buy it at Dollar Tree or Dollarama. It's their skewers. So head into their little barbecue section and pick up those wooden skewers. They're cheap, and they make good dowel. So anyway, that's what we're going to do today. So away we go. Okay, I'm going to start with one of my new favorite tools, and that's the spindle roughing gouge. So we're going to make this round. And here we go. I'm going to be turning again at about 1200 RPM. I'm a little over. If you have a lathe with a step pulley, like an older Jet or an older Delta, the Delta MIDI lathe, chances are you're going to be on position number 3, which is, I think, about 1240 RPM. So that's a good safe speed for most kids. So away we go. No, I'm not there yet. It smells nice to turn pine, but pine is definitely not one of my favorite turning woods. Uh, we had access when I taught in the school shop, and to be honest, I still have plenty of local birch here that's dried and ready to turn for things like this. That would be, in my opinion, a much better wood to use. But you know what? The reason I'm doing this in pine is because uh, schools are going to have scraps. So if you're a shop teacher and you have leftover pieces of 2x4, as long as it's clean and no nails, it should work for this project as well, and it costs you nothing. But in my opinion, a hardwood is better. Birch especially, walnut's great. There's a whole bunch of others. Oak, I don't like turning oak personally. It works, and one of the things you may be able to find in your community is a stair company that's cutting balusters to length. You may have that and have all kinds of oak cutoffs. So that could work as well. But anyway, let's get back to it. One of the things that's important to get students to do is to remember to move that tool rest ahead. Yeah, it's pretty rough. Let's see. I want to get down in diameter a little bit. So we're going to go down a bit. This isn't that important. Okay. I don't think I'm quite there yet, but I'm starting to like the size. And yeah, it's close, but I'm going to leave it there. So the next thing would be to define your turning area. So I'm going to put it on this way. Sorry, I about forgot. And I want to get those two little knots out of there. So we're going to put the top there and the bottom there. And I'm just going to take my parting tool and, oh yeah, I can still see the lines. So now we've got the turning area here. That's defined. And it's a good idea if I were a shop teacher again, and I guess technically I will be, I would turn an example. Now, is your example guaranteed to be correct? Well, it's going to be what everybody follows, so maybe it is. But so I'm going to try to copy this one kind of as best I can today. and then we're going to, we'll get close. One of the things I never did when I worked with kids is marked whether if they were doing an object and had a model to work from. I never marked them based on how close they were to the model. I think when students are learning, it's important that they get a chance to just do what they can. Also, you don't want to mark too hard at the beginning, especially because what you're going to do is you're going to kill their desire to learn. So I kept the marks up and away we went. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start, and maybe what I should do first is part a little bit away from the edges here. You have to watch when you're doing this that you don't part too much, that you don't go too deep. So I'm going to kind of define the brim, and then there's the face. And then this is a bit of a slant here. And no, I'm going to leave that. I'm going to do a little bit here and a little bit here. Just to mark. And then I like to start up top here. But the other thing that's super important is we teach students when they're approaching another edge like that, the gouge has to be sideways. If it's not, they'll have issues. Okay, my proportions are a little out. I'm going to fine tune a little bit. There we go, that'll do. Okay, I'm going to, as much as possible, use my 1/2-inch spindle gouge because that's a tool that you'll probably have. This would be a little better with a detail gouge. And that's coming. Yeah, these confined beads, you really have to make sure that that gouge is completely sideways. Okay, now I think I've got a shoulder, kind of a... Once you get a couple of the shapes defined, now I can go back and see that his head, top of the head and the hat should be about the same size. And they're not too bad right now. I'm going to keep going, but then I'm going to come back and make some fine-tuning adjustments. Now we're doing the body. It's a little fatter than this guy. Does that really matter? I don't think so. Maybe a little bit too much taper on there. That's one thing where having students start and leaving things a little bit larger is a good thing to do. Even if your finished product is a little fatter, that doesn't matter. Most often what I saw is students would take off too much material and they would end up having, ooh, I better watch camera there. Kind of the wrong way to go here, but it's the only way to get into there. Excuse me. Okay, when we're going to take this down gently, and then we're going to keep going here. We need a little bit more taper down here. Proportions aren't too bad. That's the other good thing about teaching this, is students learn about proportion, which is really important. What looks good and why does it look good? I found that a lot of my students, even though they had no background in design, understood that concept really well. I'm actually quite happy with this. I think the hat should be a little smaller in diameter. That's not too bad. Okay, one of the things, oh yeah, I can still do it there. Okay, yeah, it's pine, can I say. I should maybe rework the head a little bit yet. It's a little big. There's some things to do. One of the things I wanted to show you though, and I know I showed this on another video, but doing ends, that is probably one of the things my students struggled with the most, is how do you get a nice clean end? Yes, you can get an end with a parting tool, but a parting tool is a scraping tool and it's not smooth. So what I did with students is I found it easier to teach them to shear scrape that end. So you're cutting right about there and dragging the gouge towards you. Now that works pretty good. It's not bad. But better is that push cut. But starting that push cut where you have no bevel to rub is a real challenge for students. So back it up as much as you can. Put the gouge pretty much perfectly sideways. Line up the bevel with the cut you want to make. Push it in. And then as you get, now I've got support. Now I've got a bevel to rub. And then push it through. And that's a far superior cut. But that is a difficult cut to make. My students struggled with that one. So that's something, and maybe what you could even do is make the piece round, and before you define your turning area, just practice on the end a little bit. If your students are willing to learn to turn better, that might be something they'd be interested in. I'm going to switch to a smaller gouge and try to clean up some of the details. Okay, here we go. And again, here we're going to use that cut. And we're going to do it again. Whoops. And then I touched the piece while I was trying to straighten out the camera. I'm not as good at this left-handed, but we made it work. Okay, now I've got a little bit of refinement to do here. Yeah, a detail gouge would be great. I got it anyway. Okay. I'm not sure if you'll have a detail gouge in your tool repertoire for your students to use. I think I'm going to leave that and I'm going to demonstrate another tool here. Now the hat isn't quite right. See, and then this is in the way. Okay, I can live with that. Now, one of the things that when you're turning as an adult that maybe you frown upon a little bit is the whole idea of using sandpaper. But you know what? When you're teaching a youngster how to turn, don't get hung up on sanding. Let them sand. Okay, and we're going to do just a wee little bit now. And I know I've shown everybody this before, but when you sand on the lathe, I think you should be sanding in this quadrant here between 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock. That way, if you have any issues, the paper will go, the force will be down and away. And I think that's what you want. Well, I got my camera nicely overhead here, and I occasionally bump it with my head. Well, like I said in the last video where I did this, you are getting the bird's eye view. And make your sandpaper thick. Okay, that was actually 80 because that's what I had here. This is 180. Love the smell of pine, and pine is really good for small projects for this age group. Ah, that's feeling good. Okay, well, I could live with that. If I was a 13-year-old, I'd be proud of myself. Okay, let's finish this thing off and take it off the lathe, and then we'll put the arms on. Okay, where's my half-inch gouge here? Okay, I'm going to make a little bit of room here. And that's another thing. When you're working with kids, use the waste pieces to teach things. Like, for example, rubbing the bevel and turning. And I'm turning a taper. And now we're going to go after that cut again. I'm going to come in gently. Now I have a bevel to rub. And away we go. And now I'm just going to rub the bevel. Now I won't be able to get all the way. And one of the problems I have is I'm kind of notorious for turning too far, and then I go back and, oh, I should fix that yet. And then all of a sudden, you put the gouge in and nothing happens. Okay, and I'm just going to come in that same push cut, left-handed. Now I can just rub the bevel. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. Now I've got a little bit, to me these ends are a little heavy yet to cut off. But I would argue that when you're working with youngsters, this is perfect because it's still quite durable in the lathe. It's still tough. So if something would happen, you can still turn it out. But and to cut it off and to sand it, it's not a big deal. So let's give them a little spin here. That's our nutcracker, our armless nutcracker. And all we have to do now yet is cut the arms and glue them on. So the other nice thing about this is that it shows them that turning can be a part of something. So, and I actually see one little thing, this is what I said about myself, that I'm going to change. Yeah, I know, not the brightest, but I'm going to be gentle. That hat doesn't have enough taper in it. That's good. We're going to call that good. So that's another good lesson to learn. If a student leaves this much on the ends and then comes back and asks you a question about shape or form, you can still work with it. Okay, well, I think that's the turning part of this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get out my little handsaw and we're going to cut some dowel to the right length and do some sanding and we're going to glue it together. So we'll be back in a little bit. Okay, well, we're set up again and I'm just going to grab my pieces here. It's a little fatter than the other one, but that's okay. And I'm standing in front here to try to give you a little better view of putting the arms on. I like to have the arm create a little bit of a shoulder, so leave it a little above that. Okay, and I don't have any 110 power here, so we're just gonna tack this on with a little bit of hot glue. To do this in the school shop, I would recommend yellow glue. I'm just doing this today, or carpenter's glue of some sort. Yellow, white, doesn't really matter. I'm just roughly doing this here. I'm doing the quick version. And notice I rounded the top a little bit. I'll show you that when I get this stuck on. There you go. So I rounded those just a little bit to give them shoulders. Oh, and I didn't cut them exactly the same length. Oh, well. Oh, no, this one's a little lower than that one. So, yeah, and now the nice thing about this is a great way to teach surface decoration. Now they can paint and make a nice Christmas ornament for mom or dad. Okay, I'm just going to head back to the side of the lathe I'm more comfortable on. There we go. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that was beneficial to you. If you work with youngsters, or if you're working with your own kids or whatever, or you're just starting turning and you're looking to develop some projects and technique that you can do, turning is really good because you can make something quickly. I think in a past video I mentioned something about doing a jewelry box or something. Well, there's gluing and there's joinery, and they're going to take a weekend to do for sure. Whereas this, you can come into the shop and spend an hour and you can make one of these. Now the painting, you could spend 10 times as long painting this thing. But that's the good thing about it. You find out which of your kids have a knack for turning and for decorating the surface. So anyway, on that note, I think that brings chapter 75 to a close. Yeah, we transformed a block of wood into a soldier, which was quite a transformation, and we had fun. So yeah, with that in mind, there'll be something coming out on the weekend. I had a very exciting Monday this week. Got a tool running in here that I haven't had running in a while, and it works and it functions, and maybe we'll do a little bit of a walk around on the weekend edition. Okay, take care. Have a great rest of the week, everyone. We'll see you on the next video.